Welcome back, this is Cereal Snacks, and I am looking at a game. I'm just taking a quick look just to give you guys my impressions of a game that I've played pretty much to the end of, I believe. I'm really close to the end. I think the game takes about 6 hours. This is Valiant Hearts, The Great War. And I picked this game up a little while ago, and I saw that it was on sale this week. I'll try to get this video out in time so that you guys actually can pick it up. I think I paid $15 for it, which was more than worth it. I never expected it to be as good as it was. I think I saw a review when it first came out and thought that it was going to be some kind of snobby artistic game from France, and it ended up being what some people I think call the Cry Simulator 2015. It has plenty of lightheartedness to it, but really the story is about war, but it's also a puzzle game, and it's also a platformer, and it's also a really good story, and it centers around the narrator, who's actually, I believe, the dog. So let's take a quick look. So it's got all these characters that you follow throughout the game, and I'm not going to give away the story, but the gist is that you get to be each one of these characters who has different skills and different things that they do in the game, and that allows them to progress through the levels, mostly kind of puzzle levels. Now, I will say that I'm not the best at doing puzzles, and this game, so let's start this one, but this game, the puzzles are...
Her name was Anna.
We'll watch this thing real quick.
A Belgian student living in Paris. She was hard on the trail of her missing father. For once, fate smiled on them. They were all going in the same direction. But while approaching Vimy, a German squadron spotted them. So,
this is just one example of the type of gameplay that this game has. Now, so what you're doing is you're dodging these German planes that are dropping bombs, and really the goal is just to stay out of here. Now, so most of the game is puzzle oriented, but there are scenes like this where there's some action, so it really has a nice mixture of this type of action and the puzzles that I will show in a minute. And you can see you got these three characters, all who at first seem... No, okay, so I'm not going to show you that. Too busy talking about how awesome this game is and not enough focusing. So let us go back. The soundtrack is amazing. The art is amazing. For $15, I felt like I was getting just an amazing deal out of this game. Let's go to another example of the gameplay. So let's take a look at a different part of the game. Let's just look at Chapter 1, beginning of the game. This will give you, and maybe we'll do the Battle of Marne.
Freddy, originally from America, enlisted voluntarily in the French forces at the start of the war. Behind his bravery hid a man already devastated by the war's effects. A man with one sole obsession: punish those who had destroyed his life. It was at the Battle of the Marne that Freddy finally picked up the trail of the regiment commanded by Baron von Dorf.
So this is kind of an example of the gameplay. You can see it's kind of like a platformy thing. He's got... Oh, I just picked up a hidden item. I did not realize that was there. Wow, okay. And they give you little hints. So like I said, it's a puzzle game, but it also gives you hints that are pretty helpful, right? So one thing, I'm actually playing with my keyboard right now. One thing I would suggest is if you have a controller, it does make the game a little bit better in my opinion. But it's not impossible on the keyboard, and it's probably just as good. If you're going to pay $3 for it and you don't have a controller, I think that's perfectly fine. So, like I said, it's puzzle oriented, but it gives you lots of hints. So I found it to be the exact amount of puzzle complexity that I needed. I never needed to go online and look for hints, but I also found some of the sections challenging and had to take my time trying to just think through it. And that's hard to do, I think, for a puzzle game, for them to get that kind of mixture of puzzle and non-frustration, I guess you could say. So you can see this is relatively simple at this point, but that's the basic idea of the game. I don't think there's a whole lot more to really say about it, except that it is amazing, and if nothing else, it's the story that really drives it. I think even if the gameplay was terrible, which it's not, the story itself would carry the game to the bitter end. You're probably going to get about 6 hours of gameplay. There's obviously no graphic settings. It's just like a 2D platformer, but that also means it'll run on pretty much any PC. So you have that going for you, and it's just a lot of fun. So I urge you to pick it up. Oh, one of the downsides to this game that really isn't related to the game too much is that it is made by, well, it's made by an indie company, but it was published by Ubisoft. So you end up having to install the Ubisoft kind of DRM software that goes online and checks to see if you actually own the game. So that can be a little bit annoying. So for those of you who don't pirate, it can be more annoying than for those of you who did, because you have to deal with that DRM. So just something to keep in mind. Oh, one more thing is that if you go into your menus, you actually do get a lot of different things that not all games have, and it's just kind of added stuff, and that is historical facts. So you'll get historical facts about the actual war, which is nice. And one nice thing about this game is that it actually does follow the history of World War I pretty closely. And I think for many of us in the U.S., we probably don't have a really clear idea of what happened in World War I. We always know about World War II. So it's nice to be able to read about it and see how crazy it really was, right? The Great War. The other thing is diaries, and each character's got their own diaries of what's happening in their life. And that's interesting to read and really adds some flavor to the story. Like I said, the options pretty limited, right? It's a 2D game. Not a whole lot of stuff to it, but it does have good gamepad settings. That's why I recommend the gamepad. And that is pretty much it. So if you like this review, please click like and subscribe, and I will catch you next time. Thanks for joining me.